necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I always seem to say we got a very busy news day, but I really mean it today. Yes, that's for sure. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. A lot to get to, a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we appreciate all of you being here. The Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, FMAM Dial KSHP, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. Some very special guests lined up for you today. The big news, there's so many breaking stories today. Obviously, Sean Diddy Combs found not guilty of sex trafficking. Gloria Allred, who's represented multiple alleged victims from Sean Diddy Combs, is going to be joining us here in hour number 2. She's a very busy woman and certainly an iconic lawyer. She's going to be joining us in hour number 2 to talk a little bit about that. Another story that we are covering today, as I mentioned it yesterday, Idaho student murderer suspect Bryan Kohberger accepting a plea deal, admitting to those horrific acts that took place. Obviously, there are some family members of the victims that are very upset. We're going to be talking a little bit about that a little bit later on as well. And the new jobs report has gone out in the private sector. It's the worst we've seen in 2 years. So we are going to be talking a little bit about that as well. And as I mentioned, a lot to get to and a lot to go over. Gloria Allred is going to be joining us coming up at the top of the hour. So Sean Diddy Combs, as I mentioned, was found not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering today. The 55-year-old was facing life in prison if convicted of the top charge, which was racketeering conspiracy. To me, if you ask me, do I think he's guilty? Absolutely. He's a horrific human being, and in my opinion, Puff Daddy belongs in jail for the rest of his life. But, number one, he's a celebrity. Just as important, if not more important, he was able to buy the best attorneys. If not for that, I believe he would have been probably found guilty of all charges. But he had an alleged, if you want to call them, dream team. I think the people outside the courtroom are sickening that are defending this guy who has beat women before, an absolute abuser, a proven abuser. And I think it's sick and disgusting that this guy could be out of jail within hours or even minutes. So we'll have to wait and see and monitor that story. But yes, I do think it is absolutely heinous and disgusting that Puff Daddy is going to be able to see the light of day. I feel the same way like about Bill Cosby. When Bill Cosby was able to leave for different reasons, I thought that was despicable as well. I see Puff Daddy like in the same category as Bill Cosby, just despicable human beings who have treated women and men like absolute garbage their entire life. It's sad, but this is the way our justice system works sometimes, where if you have money and you're a celebrity, it certainly didn't help Harvey Weinstein, but certainly has helped Sean Combs. So Gloria Allred, who has represented several of the alleged victims, is going to be joining us in about an hour or so, and she's going to be giving us her reaction. She certainly can't be happy. Neither can some of her clients on this. So we'll get her reaction to this, the iconic attorney, coming up here in just a little bit. So I did talk to you guys about Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger accepting a plea deal yesterday to spare his own life. Today in a courtroom, it was chilling, but he admitted to those murders. And I got to tell you something. This makes my blood boil as well, and I've told you guys why. I believe the death penalty, I'm for it. And the reason why I am for it is because of cases like this. This was premeditated. This psychopath went in there and took 4 innocent lives. Madison Mogen was only 21 years old. Kaylee Gonzalez was 21. Zana Kernodle was 20, and Ethan Chapin was 20. It happened at 4 a.m. on November 13th back in 2022. And what makes this even worse is that this guy, Bryan Kohberger, at first pleaded not guilty and drew this thing out for several years instead of manning up to what he did and putting the families through hell. And I know that what we've learned is that some of the families of the victims weren't even called about this plea deal. What type of justice system are we running in this country? What type of justice system are we running in this country where the victims' families don't even get any say in what's going on here? I understand. There are people out there. I get it. You're against capital punishment. I understand. But this case right here is the direct reasoning why I am for capital punishment. What other case can you have? This is a guy who literally slaughtered 4 innocent college students for no reason other than the fact that he is a sick person. You're telling me that this guy deserves to be in jail eating 3 meals a day, maybe even being able to watch television and play cards for the rest of his life, while these families every day continue to grieve the loss of their loved ones? I can't even imagine what they are going through. This is wrong. And I understand it would not bring the victims back. I understand that. But this guy, Bryan Kohberger, should be on death row. Period. This is a monster in Idaho. A monster. And the prosecution in this case should be ashamed of themselves that they didn't even reach out to the victims. That's shameful. If this isn't a death penalty case, then can somebody tell me, please, what is? It's premeditated. We know he did it. There's DNA evidence. 4 innocent people lost their lives. Can you please tell me why we even have the death penalty anymore if you're not going to give it to this guy? This is why I am for the death penalty. And my thoughts and prayers are for the victims, their families, their friends, and so many others that have been involved in this. It's horrible. And I feel for them, just like I feel for the victims of Puff Daddy. It's sick. It's sad. Bryan Kohberger should be on death row, period. So we're going to continue to talk about that today. As I said, there's a lot of other stuff to get to. Sean Diddy Combs, not guilty on the most serious charges. Gloria Allred's going to be joining us at the top of the hour to give us her reaction to that as well. So the latest jobs report recently has come out. And in this jobs report in the private sector, Bartiromo on Fox Business was forced to actually admit in real time, as this report, the projections were adding jobs to the private sector, but it turned out jobs were in decline, showing 33,000 jobs in the private sector that have been lost. By the way, this is the worst report we've had in 2 years. And this is Bartiromo live on Fox Business having to admit these horrendous numbers. Have a listen to this.
Of course, President Trump is talking about this bill leading to growth in the economy. We are waiting any moment now to get the jobs numbers for the month of May. The expectations call for the ADP numbers to be up 95,000 for the month of June, rather. It's the June jobs data, and we'll, of course, right now seeing the number actually show a decline in jobs, down 33,000 on ADP. The bill includes $25 billion for the Golden Dome, the missile defense system. Senator, you introduced a bill supporting the construction of that system. I want to get your take on defense.
Yeah, I want to get your take. Let's talk about something else. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Fox Business getting the numbers in live, and Bartiromo was forced to admit that this is the worst jobs report that we have seen in 2 years. Welcome to the golden age, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump's golden age of the economy. 33,000 jobs down in the private sector. What's the excuse? Are you going to blame Joe Biden for that? Are you going to blame Pete Buttigieg? Again, let me repeat. This is the worst report that they have seen when it comes to the private sector in 2 years. It's only going to get worse, and the projections were not as bad as this, by the way, to people that are nonpartisan. 33,000 jobs gone. And as you know, you have a lot of MAGA Republicans out there that are still making excuses for this big, beautiful bill. Andy Harris is one of them. So if you want to know what the message is from MAGA Republicans today, according to Andy Harris, get a job. Folks, I am not making this up. We know that at least 13 million people, we've heard 10 million, we've heard 13 million. We know that at least 10 million people are going to lose Medicaid if this bill actually does pass. We'll get to that. But what this moron, Andy Harris, and some of these morons on the far right don't seem to understand, and I've talked about this, 3 out of 10 people that are working full-time are not offered health benefits. At least half of those people can't afford health benefits. But according to Representative Andy Harris, who said on Fox News, get a job. Have a listen to this.
Be a big thing. This is what all the left media is talking about. Can you just clarify and confirm, because some people are questioning, if will people get their Medicaid, will it go away?
Well, look, if you're on traditional Medicaid, you're disabled, you're elderly, you're pregnant, you're a child, you're not going to get anything taken away. Look, if you're able-bodied without dependents and you choose not to work, well, you shouldn't be on a public welfare program. That's the bottom line. If you're one of the 1.4 million illegal immigrants who are here, who are on Medicaid, you shouldn't be getting it. The bottom line is these are all counted in the CBO estimates. Again, you're an able-bodied person, you choose not to work, you should be off the public dole. Yes, you will lose your Medicaid coverage. Get a job and get coverage through a job if necessary, or sign up for Obamacare. You still have Obamacare as a backdrop for a lot of these individuals. So, again, these numbers are highly inflated. No one who the core Medicaid program was designed for, that is the disabled, the elderly, pregnant women, children, none of them are going to lose their coverage under any of these plans.
Nope. And if you do, it's because you didn't deserve to have it in the first place.
What an idiot. Idiots. First of all, that is a complete lie. Second of all, 30% of people that are working in this country are not offered health care benefits. And lastly, which is just as important, if not more important, at least half the people that are working that are offered health care benefits can't afford it. So this moron, Andy Harris, and this idiot, this idiot anchor, well, chances are if you lose your Medicaid, you didn't deserve it in the first place. What a bunch of morons. Not only are they lying to the American public, but they don't care about people. Well, guess what? I do, and most of America does. Do you have a conscience? Do you understand that there are a lot of people without their Medicaid that are going to lose their lives? Do you understand that many of these people actually do work? They're making it sound like the only people that are going to lose their medical benefits are people that are lazy that don't want to work. Remember, these Republicans said the same thing about welfare. They said the same thing about COVID relief. They say the same thing about anything. They say the same thing about student debt relief. They'll say the same thing about any bit of money that can help people that are struggling in this country. Oh, you're just lazy, get to work. But then when it benefits them, it's funny because the people that are saying these things are the same people that have their health care coverage and their family has health care coverage in place for the rest of their lives. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And speaking of a joke, what about Kevin Cramer making the case for the crypto legislation that he supports and making a blatant excuse for Donald Trump's family scamming billions of dollars in crypto market, and he doesn't want to do anything about it. I want you to listen to what Cramer is saying here, because that's really what he's saying. He's basically saying there's nothing to see here. Let Donald Trump scam people out of billions of dollars.
The problem with that heavy hand of government position on something that's as nascent and as dynamic, for example, as stablecoin, is that investors can go other places, and they're going to be compelled to go to other countries, which weakens the American dollar, it weakens the American opportunity, if you will, for these new financial tools. And so we took a soft touch approach, put up some good guardrails, protects the American dollar, the significance, obviously, of the dollar in the world. Then Letitia James just wants to, like most liberals, wants to just regulate it out of existence the way it appears to me. So I think it's disappointing. This is complicated stuff. I'm certainly not an expert on any of it, but I do know that over-regulating is not the way that you promote good economic activity and opportunity.
It's a great point, Senator. I'm so glad you made it. But let's not forget that Letitia James is with Mamdani, who wants to have free grocery stores. Right?
Yeah, right.
The city is going to run your grocer, which is incredible to me.
Yeah, great point. So let me interpret for some of you, because this is a different language that Kevin Cramer is using. It's called MAGA tongue. So let me interpret exactly what Kevin Cramer just said with his BS and his nonsense. Here's what he really is saying. Every single member of Donald Trump's family is scamming billions of dollars into the crypto market, and we don't want to do anything about it, and we don't want to do anything that might impede their efforts. That's exactly what Cramer is saying. So I just interpreted you in MAGA tongue what he was really trying to say. So going back to this big, beautiful bill, I've always admired AOC for a lot of different reasons. And if you are a powerful, intelligent, in this case, I would say attractive woman, MAGA Republicans see you as a threat. That's why they've always seen AOC as a threat, or Jasmine Crockett, particularly if you're a woman of color. So AOC, someone who had to work hard to make it, and she did, and I have a lot of respect for her. Don't always agree with her on everything, but I think she's a very capable, intelligent woman. A lot of these MAGA buffoons thought that they would not get taxed on their tips. Well, it turns out that even though part of that language is in this bill, Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are actually conning you. Yeah, I know you might find that hard to believe. There was never really going to be a no tax on tips. In fact, they're getting their money back in other ways, and AOC explains it brilliantly on the House floor. Have a listen to this.
Bill, on this point of tax on tips, as one of the only people in this body who has lived off of tips, I want to tell you a little bit about the scam of that text, a little bit of the fine print there. The cap on that is $25,000. While you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States, while taking away their SNAP, while taking away their Medicaid, while kicking them off of the ACA and their health care extensions. So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away health care and basic dignity of the American people. For what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot stand for it, and we will not support it. You should be ashamed.
So AOC just described it brilliantly. For the MAGA morons out there, let me try to speak slowly so maybe you'll understand. While there's a cap on tax for tips at $25,000, by the way, most people that make a living on tips are making more than $25,000, at least I would hope. It doesn't mean that you're going to have more money in your pocket, because they're jacking up taxes for people that make $50,000 a year or less. So the government is getting that money back. Why is that so hard for some of you MAGA imbeciles to understand? This is a joke, and that's if it passes. And AOC is 150% correct. And what about all the MAGA idiots out there, and there's plenty of them out there, that keep listening to these morons like the Ron Johnsons and the Mike Johnsons and these other idiots that are voting for this big and beautiful bill, that keep lying to the American people and telling the American people nobody's going to lose their Medicaid unless you're some lazy ass sitting on the couch that doesn't want to work. By the way, that's a blatant lie. But again, AOC brilliantly rips apart these MAGA Republican imbeciles who, by the way, were cowards on the House floor earlier today. They didn't even want to defend this bill because it's indefensible. Here's AOC breaking down how so many Americans are going to lose their Medicaid and the personal attacks on her from Donald Trump.
You know, President Trump had issued some statements throughout this process saying and urging, insisting that this bill does not cut Medicaid. He's also said some things, you know, he says he doesn't think I'm too much of a smart person. And I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't take a smart person to know if you're being lied to. All right. President Trump, you're either being lied to or you are lying to the American people. Because this bill represents, in the text of this bill, the largest and greatest loss of health care in American history. 17 million Americans will lose their health care on this bill, not undocumented people, not quote unquote the disgusting term illegal, but 17 million Americans will have their health care cut from this bill.
See, that's what we call facts. Separating fiction and facts. A lot of people are going to lose their health care. Amen, AOC. Once again, doing a phenomenal job, and she's 150% correct. So before I get to the YouTube Super Chat, I want to just remind all of you, Gloria Allred, who has represented several Sean Diddy Combs victims, is going to be joining us at the top of the hour with her reaction to the Puff Daddy verdict. A programming note for you. Tomorrow on the program, the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, is going to be joining us, as well as Liz Flint. She is the wife of the late, great Larry Flint. She's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. She has a new book out. And, of course, the beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell. So we have a jam-packed show tomorrow. And as I mentioned, Gloria Allred is going to be joining us at the top of the hour. Let's go to the YouTube Super Chat, if I may, because I know there's a lot of people that want their questions and comments to be heard, and we appreciate your support, so we are going to do that. Lori says, Brian, you were right. The Florida Republican is selling merchandise on alligator Alcatraz. Shameful. Yes, Lori, I was. I knew it was just a matter of time before that was going to happen. Glenn says, my wife's been following Diddy's trial from the beginning. She felt that the jury's afraid of Puffy and would vote not guilty. She's half correct. Well, Glenn, I'm as disappointed as you are on that one. Glenn also said YouTube posts have been reporting that Jasmine Crockett slapped Pierce Morgan live on his show, suing for defamation. No, that didn't happen, Glenn. She never slapped Pierce Morgan. That is 150% false. Slapped him with a lawsuit. Okay, so Glenn has rephrased that. Yes, I did hear that she did file a lawsuit against him, and next time I do Pierce's show, I might ask him about that. I don't know. We will see about that, Glenn, but I appreciate your support. Kathy says, Glenn, please do not spread misinformation. Yes, Kathy, we have actually cleared that up, and I'm glad Glenn did as well. Jasmine Crockett did not physically assault Pierce Morgan. She slapped him with a lawsuit. So maybe the phrasing of that was wrong, and I appreciate you, Glenn, for clearing that up. Questions and comments will continue to be heard in the YouTube Super Chat. It is Wednesday. So as I always enjoy having this great guy on with me to co-host with me, he is Leonard Cardinell, a former police officer and lieutenant in North Las Vegas. Leonard, it is good to see you again, my friend. How are you, sir?
How you doing today, Brian? There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. I want to get your reaction to this story first before we get back to Donald Trump, and then we'll get into the Puff Daddy stuff. I've always been someone that has been for capital punishment. I've never been afraid to share my opinions on anything. This Brian Kohberger guy slaughtered 4 innocent people in Idaho. You've seen some really bad things in your life as law enforcement. I'm sure you've walked into murder scenes and things of that nature. You've dealt with victims and their families, which I can't imagine how difficult that must be. The prosecution didn't even reach out to the victims here to talk about a plea deal. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's been kind of shady from the beginning. If you remember, after the crime, they had to have a court injunction because they were going to demolish the house with all the evidence in it only after a couple of days. So it's been a little suspicious. I agree with capital punishment if that fits the crime. But some people say, and I've talked to people in the last few days, and some people say it might be a more difficult punishment if he's allowed to stay alive, because now he has to live with what he did. And since he killed young adults, there's a chance that people in prison may not appreciate that. They may have to isolate him.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I hope that does happen to him, but I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why I disagree with their assessment on that is because he's still able to eat 3 meals a day. He's still able to maybe watch television or listen to the radio or play cards. I don't know if he'll be in solitary confinement or not. Maybe he will. But he's still able to live. Now, it shouldn't be your decision. It shouldn't be my decision. In my opinion, it shouldn't be a judge's decision. The option should be put forth to the victims' families. I've always felt that way. And you might say to yourself, well, wait a second. The victims' families are acting on emotion. So what? They lost their family members who were brutally murdered. I think it should be left up to the families.
I think the plea deals are based on whether or not they can prove the case. And listen, I wouldn't even see why they would even make a plea deal, because the case is solid.
Thank you. That's what I was just going to say, Leonard. The evidence was overwhelming. There's DNA evidence.
So why is there a plea deal?
DNA evidence. And, one of the victim's family members said, why can't we at least get all the information from him about how my daughter died? Why can't we get information on what was the weapon that was used? Because I don't think they found the weapon. Exactly what happened. Give us more details on it. We want to know. Nothing. All we heard from this lunatic, Kohberger, in a courtroom was, yes, he did walk in there, and yes, he did commit these heinous crimes. But we never got the full admission, of guilt.
And it took forever. The investigation took
and
forever.
It was drawn out. Now, it'd be one thing, I would still be for capital punishment, but it would be one thing if on day one, when he was handcuffed, he admitted to doing all of this. It would have saved the family a little bit of grief, but he didn't do that. So just because he admitted to the crimes, he didn't give the details. I know some of the families of the victims wanted more details. He didn't do that. I think the prosecution should be ashamed of themselves. And my heart breaks for these four young individuals. My heart breaks for them.
Is he connected to someone, you think, or was there some kind of?
It certainly feels that way, doesn't it?
Day one, it seemed very cut and dry, and it seemed maybe there's another person involved. They're trying to cover. I don't know, but it's been very strange from day one.
It certainly feels that way. So, guys, I know there's a lot of people listening right now. Obviously, me and Leonard, we agree on this, but I know there's a lot of people listening that are against capital punishment. This is the reason why I am for capital punishment for cases like this that are open, shut case, 4 innocent people slaughtered. What is the argument for keeping this person alive? Like, I just don't understand that.
That's the real question.
Yeah, I don't understand your argument.
Deserve, or should he have an ability or an opportunity to continue to exist?
No, he should be on death row.
Would the world be better without this person?
Yeah, put him on death row. That's how I feel. And I do feel like, and this is one of those topics where I do agree with most Republicans on capital punishment. I do. And I know that there are cases in the past, like the Central Park 5 and others, where people were later found innocent because of DNA. We are in 2025 now, where it's almost virtually impossible to convict someone of this heinous of a crime without some sort of DNA evidence. And that's what happened in this case. There was DNA. This guy Koberger, a dog that was in the home, a piece of hair from the dog was found on Koberger's person. So, I mean, there's so much DNA evidence, and his car that was whisking away and a witness. So it's overwhelming evidence here. And it's just, it's unfortunate that the victims' families now have to grieve some more and suffer, and the prosecution didn't even reach out to them. I will be talking about Puff Daddy with you in a little bit. We have Gloria Allred that's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. But I do find it interesting that this new private sector jobs report just came out, 33,000 jobs lost. It's the worst report that we've seen in the last 2 years, Leonard. What do we make of this? Because Donald Trump has been saying over and over again about this massive growth with the economy, but then this jobs report comes out, speaks to the opposite.
Well, it was, and that's not even talking about the projection, which was, I believe, about 138,000 jobs, which did not happen. And Trump is aggressively pursuing Jerome Powell and the Fed. And Jerome Powell came out and he said, in all likelihood, we would be lowering the interest rate. We would be making the economy better. But the tariffs have made it so that we have no control, and that he expects the tariffs to continue to raise inflation. And as you know, and economically, it doesn't make any sense to lower the interest rate while inflation still exists. So he actually shot himself in the foot. And now he's talking about replacing them, even though there's no provision in the law that would allow the president to replace the head of the Fed.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be excuse after excuse after excuse.
2 weeks.
Right. 2 weeks. He's going to blame everybody else but himself and his own policies. But this is a very bad jobs report. The economy is not headed in the right direction. In fact, many experts,
get worse.
Exactly. Many experts that have done this show that are nonpartisan have said they expect a recession in the near future. So here we have our economy on the brink of a disaster. I think most people would characterize it as that. We are looking at the strong possibility of at least 10 million people in this country losing their Medicaid benefits, families that struggle to put food on the table, losing their food benefits. You have people in this country, American consumers, that are paying more because of these tariffs. You have Donald Trump, who said the war in Ukraine was going to be over in 24 hours, no closer to the end of that war now than there was on day one. We have now entered a war with Iran. What, if you talk to most MAGA Republicans would say, well, I love his immigration policy, which is absurd, because you have these ICE agents that are not identifying themselves, that are arresting people outside of courtrooms, in front of Home Depot, people that are not getting due process.
Oh, and now they're beating them down on video. And what about the alligator Alcatraz, or alligator Auschwitz, as some people are calling it?
Yeah.
And what he's doing is brutal. And these people are applauding what he's doing. He's ruining I don't see any way economically that the economy is going to be able to recover for a very long time because of how badly. And then he wants to take away benefits from, like you said, 14 million people over the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. He's going to cut almost $1 trillion.
It's not just Medicaid either. It's food benefits too.
But how do people support this, Brian? How do people vote for this?
I'll tell you, because they're afraid of Donald Trump. And by the way,
Lisa Murkowski.
These are I want to repeat this because this is factual. This is important. You're right with everything you said about Medicaid, government benefits. Make no mistake about it. These are going to be the biggest tax cuts for the richest people in this country, in the history of this country, the billionaires. So think about this for a minute, the biggest tax cuts in the history for the richest people, and they're taking away benefits from people that desperately need to put food on the table, their Medicaid benefits and food assistance. Think about that. This is the Republican Party. This is the party of Republicans.
How do they vote for that? Can I make a point real quick? So for people who are out there who don't know what the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, but what's important about that is in lower income families and poorer families, when they go to school, those 5 days, Monday through Friday, that's the best meal they get pretty much all week. They don't get a great meal at night because the parents really can't afford it. They can't get a great meal at Saturday and Sunday because they're not in school. So this is literally how they get their nutrition and sustain themselves. And I know there's an issue with food stamps. I don't think we'll go there today. We could have a whole conversation about that. But I'm talking about but how do these Republicans, how do they vote to go ahead and cut that because, we want some tax breaks for the millionaires. We want to drill, whatever they're saying.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
And I think, the Democrats are saying, well, we're going to keep pushing and keep exposing, and we're relying on the midterms. But I don't know, Brian. I don't know how successful. How many MAGAs have you talked to that say I was dead wrong? How many do you talk? Even if you see one or two on social media,
almost never.
Yeah. And we invite them to call in and make some kind of point. They have no facts. They have no ability to explain their position. And then they get mad and they call you names, and then they hang up, and it's embarrassing, but they will not. I don't know if they're going to change by the midterms. You think they're going to get mad because of racism or misogynistic political people? Do you think they're going to get mad and change their mind? I don't see it. They love Kristi Noem, and in my opinion, she's an idiot.
Yeah, well, she is. I agree with you. And she's a horrific human being. Here's the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen. And then we're going to open up the phone lines now at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, now's the time to do it. If you want to pick up that phone first, 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. Folks, here's the bottom line. There are two parties, Republicans and Democrats, and in no way, shape, or form would I ever say that Democrats are perfect, because they're not. But there is one party that wants to help people that are in need. There is one party that wants to give food assistance to people that are struggling, that can't put food on the table. There is one party that wants to give women the right to do what they want with their own bodies. And there's one party that believes that we should all have the ability to have health care. And then there's the other side of the aisle. Now, you can make the excuse that some of them are afraid of Donald Trump and that they care only about staying in power. And if they vote against this bill, they're afraid that they'll get voted out. And that might be the case with some. But the overwhelming majority of Republicans, since the history of time, have voted against helping individuals that are struggling, whether it be minorities. They're against affirmative action. They're against food stamps. They're against welfare. They're against maternity leave. They're against abortion. They're against student debt relief. Republicans as a whole are against almost any government program that can help people that are struggling, and they usually almost always are for programs that help the rich elitists. That is the fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats, and it's not just today. This has been going on for years.
And they're all Christians, don't forget that.
Yeah, right.
They're all very devout Christians.
Fake
and they show
Christians.
up on Sunday and they pray. And when you look at the Bible and what makes a person a Christian, I would say it's a hypocrisy. It does not match up.
Agree 100%. All right, let's get to the calls. Let's go to Al. Al is first up on PTL. Hello, Al.
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking my call. I totally agree with you that guy should be on death row. That guy is a monster.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Donald Trump?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. All
I'm
right.
talking about the guy.
Okay.
I'm talking about the guy who killed all those girls. You know, I know that you.
Well,
you
we
probably
agree.
would put him on death row too.
We agree on that.
We agree on that.
We agree on that. Al, what about over 10 million people that could lose their medical benefits? Do they deserve to be on death row too?
I don't know. Well, I don't know if they're going to be on death row, but that's a very interesting perspective. I got to look at all the data. Some of those people, if you can work and you're living off the system, and
Al,
those people have been targeted and identified, they should go to get a job.
Al, let me give you some stats, Al. 30% of people that are working, 30% of people right now that are working are not offered health care benefits, and half of those people can't afford it. So that totally extinguishes that argument that you just made. There are millions of people in this country that are working that need those medical benefits. Al, what would you say to them?
The millions of people that need them, yeah, they should. If you definitely need them and you can't work and you can't,
No. Forget about even people that can't work. Did you listen to my stats? There are people that are working, and for people that are working, 30% of those people are not offered health care benefits, and at least half of them can't afford it. Al, how could you be okay with this bill? How could you be okay with it?
I gotta look. Well, you know what? I haven't.
What do you have to look at?
Politics.
Well, Al, what do you have to look at? Are you saying my stats aren't correct? Because I'll make a bet with anybody they are.
I'm not saying that. No.
So what do you have to? Why can't you? Why can't you just say it's wrong?
I'm just saying that I got to look at it closer.
What do you mean you have to look at?
Does he have medical coverage?
If you can work.
What do you mean you have to look at it closer? Even Republicans are admitting that at least 10 million people are going to lose their medical benefits. Why do you keep saying you have to look at it closer? If I told you the earth was round, would you say, well, I have to look at that closer? It's in the bill.
You might.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is that some of those people, I think, are definitely can't get health care. Not most of them, but some of them can get health care, and they should look into it. But
Al,
I really called about the other one. I called about putting the people on death row.
I understand that, Al. I understand that, Al. I understand we agree on that issue. But why is it that you don't want to talk about the details in this bill? Why is it most Republicans can't defend it?
Because I haven't really looked at it. I haven't looked at it, but I know a lot of
Congress, he hasn't really read it.
You haven't looked at it. You haven't looked at it. Did you look at Hunter Biden's laptop, though? Did you look at that? Didn't affect anybody. Yeah. I'm shocked. So hold on. Let me get this right. You took a look at Hunter Biden's laptop, which literally didn't affect anybody but Hunter Biden. But you haven't taken a look at this bill where over 10 million Americans are going to lose their medical. Al,
that was a joke. I haven't.
You think it's a joke? You think this is
now like
funny?
the president, right? When he was joking.
You think it's funny
when
that
he said he would solve the war in 24 hours?
You think it's funny that over 10 million people are going to lose their medical benefits, and so many of these people, including children, are going to lose food benefits? You think that's funny?
No, I think it's funny that what I was trying to say was that I did not look at Hunter's laptop. That's what I thought.
Oh, so I'm sure you never called any conservative radio shows concerned about Hunter Biden's laptop. Is that what you're saying, Al? Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I did
BS.
that. No, I never did
BS.
that.
I don't believe you. I think you're lying to me just like Donald Trump. I believe you care more about Hunter Biden's laptop than you do this bill where over 10 million people would lose their medical coverage. So what does that make you, Al?
A MAGA?
I don't know. I'm not a MAGA. It makes me
you sound like
person
one.
who called in about who agrees with.
No, it makes you a person who calls in who deflects and is not able to defend your 34-count felon liable abuser. That's what it makes you. It makes you somebody who doesn't.
Lawyer. I mean, I'm not.
You don't have to be a lawyer to have. Guess what, Al? You don't have. You don't have to be a lawyer to have compassion. And you're laughing about a topic when over 10 million people could lose their health care coverage, and you keep saying, "Well, I guess I have to look into that." Al, you're not a serious person.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, I only called in.
Yeah.
I always try to stay on point. You know me.
Yeah. No. You don't always try to. You don't always try and stay on point. You always try to deflect and defend the orange orangutan. Have a nice day.
I don't even think he understood how Medicaid works. That's not how Medicaid works.
These are the people who vote for Donald Trump. Did you hear that guy? These are the people, Leonard, who vote for Donald Trump. They claim they don't know what the hell is in the bill. Maybe Al's that ill-informed. I guess it's possible. But he cares more about Hunter Biden's laptop and drag queens than he does the fact that over 10 million people could lose their benefits.
I think what he was trying to say is if you don't get medical benefits, oh, well, you could go work and get a job. But what a lot of people are not bringing out is that when you're on Medicaid, there's an issue. Okay. So if you had a work requirement to a program that is mostly disabled people who can't work anywhere, or too old, mostly too old, then you're basically saying we're taking it away from you. And he seemed to be okay with that because, you know, they should be working anyway.
Oh my God. And Leonard, they're so stupid. They don't
it made no sense.
They don't understand that 30% of people that are working, they're not even offered a health care plan. And half those people can't afford it.
Healthcare is very, very expensive.
You notice how he just it doesn't even register in his
because
brain.
it's talking points,
It's
Brian.
so stupid.
He woke
They're
up this
so
morning, he saw a
stupid.
couple of talking points on News Nation or Fox News, and he said, I'm gonna call in and I'm gonna tell them that it's okay with me that you know, if people don't have this medical coverage.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to tell him, but the people who are working, your premise makes no sense. The people who are working are still not able to afford it.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Brian. Brian is next up on PTL. Hey, Brian, what's going on?
Hello, Brian. Hello, Leonard for governor.
Oh, that's 14.
Yeah. Hey, listen. You've Leonard, you said something earlier, and Brian. Well, I mean, he says it all the time. I'm a loyalist. I hear him with his great points all the time. But you asked a question, and I guess it's kind of rhetorical, but you know the answer. Why do these people vote the way they do? Whether it be the bill, whether it be for the orange orangutan, 34 count felon serial abuser, the answer is simple. It's because they're racist.
I agree.
Misogynistic.
I agree.
Sexist or bigot.
I agree.
Now, I will say this, Brian. I know you had one of my mentors on your show before. You had Roland Martin.
Yeah, he's great
on the show before. I don't know if you're aware of this or if you saw this last week, but he had a gentleman on his program that they're doing. They're not yelling and screaming and hollering like the MAGA imbeciles are doing about, oh my God, the election was stolen. Oh God, they're not doing all that. But what they're doing is they're quietly doing an audit and forensic analysis of the 2024 election.
Yep. They're
seeing irregularities, right? They're seeing things that don't make sense. Now, it's concerning right now, but it's not enough facts or details saying, hey, listen, we're going to bring a lawsuit against you or we're filing a charge. It's not enough for that. But I'm telling you, Brian, Leonard, they're getting somewhere with it. They're getting somewhere.
Can I ask you a question, Brian?
This election was fraud.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So some of the most inconsistent information was in Pennsylvania, and it looks like a lot of votes were miscounted or not counted. And in some other states, California has an issue. But here's my question. How come that's not on CNN every day? Why is that not on MSNBC? Why is BBC not covering it? Why are those stories not coming out, even though they have some validity? They have some teeth.
I'll tell you, I don't watch legacy news anymore. I'm going to answer your question in just a second, but I don't watch legacy news anymore. You know what news programs I listen and watch to? I listen to Brian Shapiro. I listen to Roland Martin. I listen to the Tabitha Speaks Politics.
Thank you.
These are the people that I listen to. I don't look at CNN. I don't look at Fox News. Of course not. I don't look at local news because
wait. Hold on. Are you telling me you don't watch Matt Gaetz on OAN? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
He's terrible.
Thank you for the call, my friend. I like you. We could have a beer sometime. You're a good dude. Thanks for calling in, man, and I appreciate those kind words. 702-221-7283. By the way, I'm in talks with Matt Gaetz' producer. We're going to try to get Matt Gaetz on the show. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next on PTL. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, what's up, Brian? How you doing, Leonard? I still think Leonard still has a nice haircut. It looks like $1 million.
It grew in a little bit, though.
But anyway, I wanted to say that, did people realize that healthcare is so damn expensive for one person? It costs at least $300 to $400 a month for one person. Can you imagine if the family that needs, Medi-Cal, can you imagine how much it costs for a family that they're going to be cut off from not taking care of their kids to go to the hospital? There's going to be a lot of dead people. I mean,
Well, that's the thing, though.
Hospitals are going to be closed down. Hospitals are going to be closed down.
Yes,
that's one of them.
But it's a bigger issue than that. Even I agree with you. Look at gun control, for example. It doesn't matter how many massacres we have. MAGA Republicans will do nothing about it. In fact, they'll show up with their AR-15 pins.
They need that NRA money.
Yeah, I mean, they care more about NRA money and being in power than they care about children. I mean, so should we really be surprised that there are so many of these people that are taking the side of Donald Trump on this one? Listen, I hope Thomas Massie and I hope there are some Republicans that continue to step up to the plate and do what's right.
They say they're going to.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
They have hospitals in rural counties in America that are probably going to have to close if this bill goes through. And remember, in the rural counties, most of them are red states and most of them are MAGA. So they're voting against their own best self-interest. Why?
Right. And you know that California has their own exchange, medical exchange rate, right? Cover California. So none of these other ones don't have that. I'm just letting you know. Like Kentucky is another one that has, we have the exchange rate, but some of these other ones are under the federal, under the umbrella of the federal, where the states don't run their own exchange rate for their medical. So the problem is, what I'm saying is that these subsidies that we're going to try, that these people, that other states that are on this basically on this Medicaid, they're going to be cut off because California can run their own. They can run their own medical. They get funding, but most likely we're running our own Cover California, so we don't need much of the help from the feds in California. We're running our own exchange rate.
Thank you for the call, my friend. Great
Dave.
phone call, and I agree with you, Dave, 150%. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ken. Ken is next on PTL. Hello, Ken.
Hey.
What's up, Ken?
What they need to call it is the abortion bill, because it's going to abort so many people, so many jobs.
That's true.
So many farms, so many hospitals. They really like aborting people. As long as they're out of that woman, then they're free to abort.
I agree to an extent. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You make a good point. I mean, let's be honest here. I'm not trying to lie to all of you, and I'm not trying to scare all of you or gaslight. Let's be honest here. If over 10 million people lose their medical benefits, what do you think is going to happen?
I'm 63 and I might lose mine. I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm sitting beside me is my pills, my pill box. I take 28 pills a day, 15 different ones, just to stay alive. Okay, they've tripled already.
Well, 50 Republican senators voted to pass this bill in its current form.
Yeah, and they're killing me.
They're shameless,
aborting me.
as far as I'm concerned. They're shameless.
I paid taxes for over 45 years, and I'm being aborted.
Well, you know what, my friend? It's people like you and the fact that you could lose your health care coverage that gets me steaming angry. We can't allow it to happen. Let's hope it doesn't, my friend. Obviously, I will always be on your side, and so many other Americans like you, sir, and I do appreciate you calling into this program. I did hear a rumor that Donald Trump takes 27 pills a day. They're blue pills, but they're wasted because he never uses them. Just ask Melania on that one. Let's go to Steven. Steven is next up on PTL. What's up, Steven?
Hey, how you doing, guys? I'm Steven from Indiana. Hey, you guys look great today, and I just wanted to say I voted for Trump, and I'm proud of it.
So tell me, what do you think, Steven, that Donald Trump has done in his first 5 months in office that you're proud of?
First 5 months? Well, let's start with day one.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean for 5 months. The day one is included in that, sir. You do understand when I say 5 months.
I know. Okay. That's what I'm doing. I'm starting.
Go ahead, sir.
He did.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Deportation. Number one.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Are you okay with agents not identifying themselves and deporting nonviolent criminals to El Salvador prisons? Are you okay with that, sir?
Yes, I am, because if they did identify themselves, they would be attacked and probably...
That's not true. There's actually video. Okay,
that's not true. I identified myself my whole career.
Okay, so
25 years, and I never got attacked.
So, sir, that's not true, but let's focus on the question. Let's just say they did identify themselves. Are you okay with nonviolent criminals, nobody that's never committed a violent crime, being sent to El Salvador prisons? And some call them concentration camps. We've seen the video of these prisons. Are you okay with that, sir? Yes or no?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, that makes you an imbecile, but tell me something else that you like about Donald Trump. If you think you're okay with a non-violent criminal being deported and sent to one of the highest maximum securities in the world,
How do you know he
then
was
that
sent
makes
there?
you an idiot, okay? That makes you an imbecile, okay? How do I know? How do I know? Okay, let's go with Garcia. Can you please tell me what Garcia was convicted of in this country? What was Garcia convicted of? Tell me, sir. I'm waiting.
Are you telling me Jose Garcia?
What was he convicted of in a court of law?
Sir, I'm not familiar with.
Of course you're not familiar. Of course you're not
Right.
familiar. Can you name me one person that was taken to an El Salvador prison that was convicted of a violent crime in the United States of America? Can you name me one?
The guy who raped the lady in Texas on the trailhead.
What's his name? Do you know the case? What was he convicted of?
I'm not exactly
You don't
sure.
know.
It was a
Okay,
famous
so
case.
you don't know anything, but yet you're totally okay with people that maybe have never been convicted of a violent crime being sent to an El Salvador prison.
Okay,
Do you
hold on,
realize how
Brian.
ridiculous you
Brian?
sound? Don't Brian me. You
Listen.
sound ridiculous.
Is he okay with people?
Well,
are you
don't
okay
raise
with
your
people
voice.
being
Why don't you?
deported?
I'll raise my voice if I want to. It's my show, not yours. Okay, MAGA? Give me something else because you failed on the first one. Are you okay with Donald Trump pardoning a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists? Since you care so much about crime, even though you couldn't name me one crime that any of these people committed, what about if you beat police officers on January 6th? Do you think those people should be pardoned? Are they
probably
hostages?
okay with that.
Are they hostages and patriots, Stephen?
Well, what happened when the guy?
Don't
let
ask
him
me
in
a
the building?
question. Don't ask me a question with another question. Answer the damn question I just asked you.
You can't.
Would you say that if you beat police officers on January 6th, not only do you deserve a pardon, but you're a hostage and a patriot? Because the idiot.
Police officers?
Yeah, what do I
Absolutely not. I
stutter?
respect
Did I
our law
stutter?
enforcement.
Then guess what? The guy who you voted for called them hostages and patriots, and he pardoned them. So what do you have to say about
I have
that?
family in the military, sir.
I don't care whether you have family in the military because that's academic to this question. Why don't you answer the question? You voted for the guy who called them.
No.
You voted for the guy who called them hostages and patriots, some of whom who beat police officers. You voted for that guy, which
him on that premises.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care whether you. I don't care whether you voted for him on that premise or not. The fact of the matter is, you voted for the guy who did that, and why don't you call it out?
Doesn't matter. We're changing.
It does. And how are we changing? More idiots like you in this country? Tell me how we're changing.
We're not changing. Criminals
Tell me
have
how
been
we're
committing
changing.
crime
We're
since the beginning of
changing.
time.
How are we changing?
The job market is changing.
Okay, let's
getting
talk about
worse.
that. Hold on. MAGA, Stephen, I need you to be quiet for a second. You just said the job market is changing. Stephen, guess what? We agree. The job market just came out today. Guess what the job market showed today with private sector jobs? Are you aware, Stephen? You just said the job market is changing. How's it changing? How's it changing? Tell me. Because I'll give it to you, because clearly you have no idea.
Opportunities out there, sir.
Stephen, guess what? I got some news for you, MAGA brain. They lost 33,000 jobs in the private sector. It just came out today.
33?
I'm not done yet. 33? Just like your brain cells. You know what that means, Stephen? It means this was the worst jobs report in 2 years. What do you have to say about that, Stephen, huh?
He voted for it.
Stephen,
All I gotta say is
no.
America needs change.
Stephen, stop with your stupid generic "Make America Great Again" slogans. You just said the job growth is tremendous. You just said it's great. I just gave you the latest job decline numbers, 33,000 jobs lost, the worst it's been in 2 years. I want you to specifically respond to that.
What the fuck are you?
Oh, now you're going to say the F word. Have a nice day, idiot.
Did he? See, that's what happens. They all do the same. It's the same thing.
Yep.
The shady MAGAs.
So if you're going to call into the show, you're obviously not allowed to swear. But usually when a MAGA caller swears at the end of the show, it usually means they have nothing else to bring.
Oh,
to
he
the
thought
table.
he was smart in the beginning.
Yeah.
He's, I'm going to tell you why I voted for him. He couldn't get past day one.
No, it's really sickening, and it's unbelievable to me. The fact of the matter is, he called into this show, and he always uses the term immigration like so many of these other MAGA fools. And then when I actually talk about real crime and talk about January 6th to put them in a corner, all of a sudden that's okay. And then he wants to talk about amazing job growth. The numbers just came out today. It was the worst report in 2 years. These people are so stupid.
I wonder if Stevens ever picked strawberries. I wonder if he's ever plowed a field.
I
wonder if he's ever milked a cow.
I think the only thing he picks is his nose. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy's next on PTL. Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard. How are you guys doing? I wanted to call because I wanted to school some fools on some thing when it comes to Social Security. And I'm prefacing this on the fact that I used to work for Social Security. So I think I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. First of all, undocumented people do not get benefits. Let me make that perfectly clear. They are lying to you. Republicans are lying to you when they say that undocumented people get benefits. They don't. As far as how the program works, there's Social Security, there is SSI. Social Security are benefits when you turn 65 or 67 or whatever the age is. You have to work 40 credits, which is equal to 10 years of employment. If you don't have that, then you can qualify based upon income or disability to what's called SSI, Social Security Insurance. Medicare is what you get when you have Social Security and you have the credit necessary. That is for hospital visits. And as you know, it comes in different tiers, Medicare Part A, B, C, and D. Medicaid is a state-sponsored program of when, again, you don't have the credits and it's based upon income or if you're disabled. Now, when we worked with a lot of our clients at Social Security Administration, we did work on some Social Security and SSI intake. When you're on Medicaid, you have to be specific as to your income. I think the amount that you usually get is usually less than $1,000 a month, but they will pick every single portion of income and assets that you have. You have to declare the home that you live in. You have to declare the job that, if you have a little job, you have to declare the car that you drive, if you have any assets. I can tell you instances of when we took intake for people where a family member gave them at least a couple of $100 so that they can get groceries. We had to report that and it reduced their Medicaid benefit for that month. So we just need to make it very clear, and people need to know, if they are very curious and want to know more about the program, go to ssa.gov and it will give you an explanation on all the different programs for Social Security.
Thank you for that explanation. Can I ask you a quick question? Do you think the fact that Trump wanted to stop sending out paper checks is going to be an issue for a lot of people?
That's going to be a lot of issue, especially for elderly people, because a lot of elderly people do not trust banks and they do not trust direct deposit. They want to see that check in their hand. As a matter of fact, my 85-year-old mother, even though she gets direct deposit and I monitor her account, when she goes to pay her bills, she goes to the post office or somewhere to get money orders because she doesn't trust.
Right, so Trump knows what he's doing. He knows he's making it more difficult for those people to receive their money. Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you for the call, my dear. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Stevie. Stevie's next up on PTL. Hi, Stevie.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me on. And I don't know your partner's name there, but hello. Leonard. Hi. I got two different things I'd like to talk to you about. One being the insurance and one being this Carolyn Levette. Okay?
Okay.
So first of all, have you seen that picture of Carolyn Levette in that bikini? A lot better looking than that black lesbian that the other people
Okay. Hold on. If you're just going to call into the show and attack somebody because of their sexuality or their skin color, I'm not interested in that. By the way, I could care less.
Is he a racist?
I can care less how pretty you think Caroline Levette is. The fact of the matter is she lies in front of America every single day, and that should be more important to you than what somebody looks like, dude. Okay?
Well, I was just bringing that up just to show you.
Yeah, well, who cares?
But number two, when it comes to this insurance thing and these people losing their insurance, why don't they just go get new jobs?
Well, first of all, as I've mentioned before, and I mention again, and I say this over and over and over again, The fact of the matter is that there are people in this country that are working, and only 30% of there's 30% of those people that aren't even offered health care coverage, and over half of them can't afford it.
They're the ones that need to go find new jobs or get a.
Well, the companies don't want to give you health insurance because it cuts into their profits. Why do you think they make it so difficult for you to get medical coverage? You can't just go get a new job who has insurance. You have to wait 90 days, and not every job has insurance. But I think you're one of those guys that wants to know why everybody doesn't wake up every day and go to work, and everyone doesn't have money, and everyone doesn't pay their bills. And you know what? This is the human race. People don't exist like that. There's a lot of people that need help, including people in my family and others.
Everybody's hiring.
And what about the children? They're taking food out of the mouths of children.
What about we're not talking about that. Keep it on point.
Do you have a moral compass, or did you lose it?
I'm just saying, what about the people that everyone's hiring? Why can't they go get another job at a place?
Everyone is not hiring. That's not accurate.
Where are you getting this?
That is not accurate.
Everybody is hiring. Like what?
Everyone's hiring all over the board, everywhere.
Okay,
you
he has
hear it
no
all the
facts.
time. You see it all the time.
What do you
Name
mean?
one company. Name one company right now that's looking for people and can't find them. One company.
Boeing.
What
did he say?
Boeing? Did he just say Boeing? Anyway, thank you for the phone
Boeing.
call, my friend. We got to
wait. I'm not done.
Have a nice day. Have a nice day, my friend. I appreciate you calling in, and I think you showed your true colors. But we have to switch topics here really quickly. And obviously, we had some breaking news that we shared with you earlier today, and that is Sean Diddy Combs. If he was convicted of the top charges. And we certainly have an iconic lawyer that is joining us on the show. She's been on before, and she has represented multiple alleged Sean Diddy Combs victims, and we really do appreciate her taking the time to join us today. She's always very generous with her time. Gloria Allred joining us right now on the show. Gloria, I really do appreciate you being here on such a busy day, I'm sure, for you as well. How are you?
It is. Thank you very much. Yes. Very, very interested in the outcome of this case because I also represent two accusers in civil lawsuits against Mr. Combs in New York, which are still pending, and we are litigating them.
And that's why I wanted to have you on. That's why I wanted to have you on, Gloria. What was your first reaction when you heard this verdict?
Well, I never predict what a jury will do because we never know what a jury will do. And frankly, since I'm an officer of the court, as an attorney licensed in New York and California, I think it's disrespectful for me to predict what a jury will do. Having said that, obviously it was a big victory for the defense in terms of, obtaining a not guilty on the main charge, the RICO charge, which is having a criminal enterprise and committing 2 felony acts in pursuance thereof or as a predicate thereof, and also the sex trafficking, and getting not guilties for that. Having said that, he is now a convicted felon for 2, transportation of prostitutions across state lines, which is called the Mann Act violation.
Can you help me understand something, though, Gloria? How is it that you can be convicted of a crime of, say, prostitution, but yet not racketeering? Like, I'm having trouble understanding that. Can you explain that to me?
Well, racketeering requires other evidence in addition to that, violation. So, for example, commission of, at one point they were charging him with not charging him, but are alleging in evidence that he had committed arson, bribery, and many other felonies. At some point, they decided not to proceed with the arson, I think, and the bribery or burglary. But there were others on the list, many, many other felonies on the list that, jury could have found that he committed.
Have you spoken, if you can share with us, to any of the victims that you represent? I mean, I would imagine that their reaction to this, they're probably devastated to hear this. I mean, have you spoken to them about this?
Well, I haven't yet. It's been a really busy day, but I'm sure they're aware of it, and they're not going to be commenting. But in addition to those 2 in the civil cases, whom I represent, I also represented a number of others who did not file a civil lawsuit either because they didn't want to, statute of limitations or other reasons, but they did speak to law enforcement. And so there were many, many accusers who spoke to law enforcement who were on the list that could have testified. Some of them were my clients, but were never called to testify for various legal reasons. Maybe didn't fit the charges. I don't know. But you always have to streamline your case before trial. That's what happened.
You've represented so many victims of sexual assault and abuse in your career, and you've done such a good job in doing so. I'm just wondering, what are some of these women going through today? I mean, I asked you the same question probably when we talked a little bit about the Bill Cosby case. I mean, what do you think some of these women are having to go through today? Because I would assume, if not today, in the near future, Sean Combs is going to walk out of that courtroom not in handcuffs.
Yeah, maybe today. We don't know. But there was a lot of fear that they had to overcome in order to speak to law enforcement. They were afraid they got to be retaliated against, be in physical jeopardy at risk because of maybe supporters of Sean Combs. We don't know, but they were in fear. And so, it's interesting that Cassie's attorney said that she believes it presents a danger if he's released. To the alleged victims. So to answer your question, I'm sure that many of my clients are also concerned about that as well.
Now, Gloria, I know you remember back in the day, the OJ trial, there were a lot of OJ Simpson fans outside the courtroom, and I thought it was despicable, even though they have the right to do so. We've seen those same scenes today outside of this trial, where you see a lot of Sean Combs, I would call them sicko fans, for lack of a better
some of them are bloggers and influencers too, but supporters of Combs.
Yeah, I mean, I find it to be knowing. We've seen on video him beating a woman, okay? There is no guilty, not guilty there. Gloria, we all saw the video. We know what this man is capable of because we've seen it. I mean, even though they have the right to be out there, what would you say to those people? It's almost like they're condoning violence against women.
Not only have we seen the video, but it was Cassie Ventura who testified that she was trying to leave the freak off, not being a freak off, and he beat her and he dragged her back. So that's serious violence. The jury could have found that was coercion or force, which is necessary, or fraud necessary in order to find sex trafficking. But for some reason, they found he was not guilty. Don't know why. We'll hear the jurors' interviews. As to the bloggers, influencers, and supporters of Combs, they have a right to express their opinion. It's not a football game. It's a serious criminal federal trial.
Right.
And so, I don't know whether they affected any of the jurors or not. I guess we may or may not find out. Unfortunately, I only have time for one more question because I have
last question, Gloria. And I really appreciate your time. Do you think, Gloria? I know you respect the rule of law. You have your whole life. Do you think the jury got this wrong?
I always respect the decision of the jury, and I will never criticize them for, they deliberated, they did their best. They couldn't get everybody to, were having times where they couldn't get people to agree, other jurors, and they persevered, they persisted, which is what they should do. So I will compliment them on their task, and we'll see what lies ahead. He'll be appealing. Whether he'll be successful or not, I don't know. Whether he will walk free today, I don't know. Whether he will have to serve any time in the sentence once he's sentenced, I don't know. Because if he gets time served, he walks out. I don't know. The judge can give him anything he wants, up to 10 years or a lot less.
Gloria, I know you got to run. Always appreciate your time. Thank you so much for what you do, and we really appreciate you coming on. We know how busy you are. Thank you, Gloria.
And I'm going to be on CNN probably in maybe 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure I got you first. So thank you so much.
Gloria, you're the best. I really appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
You. All right, take care. There you go. Gloria Allred, everybody. She chose me before CNN. That's good. Gloria is great.
She's done a lot of good work over the years.
Gloria is fantastic. So, I've talked to Gloria a number of different times. She's been so generous coming onto this show, and I have a lot of respect for her. She's an iconic lawyer. I think that's very fair to say. Obviously, she takes this very seriously. She represents some clients, some alleged victims to Puff Daddy. So this has got to hit home for her. Yeah. She always takes the high road. Let me be very clear on my feelings on this case, and then we'll get back to the calls. And I want to get your take on this. Puff Daddy is a despicable human being. Puff Daddy has done some horrific things to women and men his entire life. I believe him to be a lifelong criminal. I believe him to be a psychopath. And I believe he's committed sexual abuse. We know that we saw him punching a woman, domestic violence, and you know how I feel about that. He's an animal as far as I'm concerned, and he belongs behind bars for the rest of his life. And the fact that this man is out of jail, to me, is an embarrassment to our justice system. That's how I feel.
This is why a lot of the victims don't come forward. And there's rumors of having people sign contracts and what they were required to do before he would sign a contract with them. But I have to tell you that during the trial, I did not see how they were going to get the RICO case on, because I've testified in federal court on RICO cases. I know what you need, and it has to be a criminal enterprise that makes their money from this type of extortion, from this type of murder, from sexual acts, from armed robbery, from armed extortion, and they have to benefit, and everyone in the organization has to kind of make their money that way. And this was probably, I know people might get mad if I say it, but I don't think that they had the RICO Act on this. As far as human trafficking, there's components of coercion, there's components of was a weapon used, there's components of force, physical force.
Yeah.
And so I think the prosecution probably chose the wrong charges.
So I agree with you. And in this aspect, I'm going to use a weird analogy, completely different case. Sure. I go back to George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. I thought when they didn't go after him for what I believe he could have been convicted of, which was maybe involuntary manslaughter, they went further. And I think that's why George Zimmerman got off scot-free. Make no mistake about it. I believe George Zimmerman should be behind bars, just like I believe Sean Combs deserves to be behind bars. But I think sometimes in high-profile cases, sometimes the prosecution tries to go a little bit too far and overcharge. I was actually worried about that in the George Floyd case. While I wanted Derek Chauvin to be convicted, I was a little worried that they might have been overcharging him. Now, I'm glad that didn't happen. I do sense with what you said with the RICO stuff, I tend to agree with you on that. But what we know is it appears as though Sean Combs is going to be out of prison as early as today.
You want to know my guess? I think he's going to get a couple of years, 2 or 3 or 4 years, and probably probation. That would be my guess. And then credit for time served. And I think the victims' families are going to be very, very upset with that. However, he will be sued for multi-millions of dollars and probably in the hundreds of millions. And I totally do not believe he'll get out of that, because that the proof is a preponderance of evidence. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Correct. Yes.
And so it's not 50-50. It's like you need like 51% to prove your case. Yeah. So his fortune may be hurt in the future.
Yeah. Well, I wish it was more than his fortune, to be honest with you.
He's a bad person.
Horrendous human being. I put him and Donald Trump around the same category. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Need to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have phone lines that are completely full right now.
We may have to do rapid fire, Brian.
We have Julie. We have Vivian. We have Cheryl that's waiting on hold. We have Lucky Dragon. We have Mark, and we have Beverly. I promise I will get back to all of you when we come back on the other side of this quick 90-second break. I need to get a little bit of water. I need to collect myself a little bit here. And in 90 seconds, we'll be back. That's about 83 seconds longer than Donald Trump lasted with Stormy Daniels. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. A quick programming note for you. Besides the fact we just had Gloria Allred on right before she goes on CNN, so we appreciate Gloria for taking the time to join us. Tomorrow, another big show lineup for you. We're going to be off on Friday for the 4th of July. The Mooch will be joining us on the show tomorrow. That's right, Anthony Scaramucci.
I'm going to have to call in.
What did he last? 12 days? Was it 12 Mooches? Mooch?
Yeah, I think, and he according to him, he didn't set a record.
It was 11 days or 12 days.
There's a person or two that lasted less than him.
Well, the Mooch will be joining us on the program tomorrow, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Also, a lovely lady that I've been wanting to speak with for a long time. She is the wife of the late, great Larry Flynt. She is Liz Flynt. She's got a new book out. And, you know, of course, Larry Flynt was the guy that was censored, of course, when it came to pornography. I want to get Liz's take on what her husband would say about Donald Trump and what he's doing to certain members of the media and attacks on the media these days. So Liz Flynt will be joining us on the program tomorrow. And the former pastor turned life coach and my good friend Nicole Mitchell will be joining us on the program tomorrow as well. I don't know what my producer... my producer's telling me we need to go to the YouTube Super Chat, which I will be doing right now. And anybody who goes in the YouTube Super Chat, your questions and comments will be heard live on the air. And then we will get right to the phone calls. Peter says Leonard for governor of Nevada. There 15. You go. There you go. There you go, Peter.
That's 15 votes.
You got 15 votes at least right now. Number to call, by the way, 702-221-7283. Let's get, are we going to get back to the phone calls here? Why don't we do that? Let's get back to the calls because I know a lot of people are waiting patiently on hold. Let's go to Cheryl. Cheryl is next on PTL. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good.
Hey, Leonard.
Hi, Cheryl.
Brian, I love your show, and I have to tell you, if it weren't for you, the people that are sane wouldn't be surviving right now.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going insane for all of you, as all of my friends.
I think she makes a good point. What you're saying is that a lot of people are walking around listening to the Donald Trump Republican BS, and they know that it doesn't make sense. They know right from wrong. They know good from evil. And to hear someone like Brian Shapiro come on the radio and kind of set the record straight and not put up with their BS and not be bullied, I would agree with you. I think it's going to sound like some home cooking, but I think that's important. I think people really need that.
Well, I appreciate
and
that.
It is important because we all joke about the Kool-Aid, drinking the Kool-Aid. But it's not about that. There's just something in the air right now. And it started when Trump was in office, when COVID started. It's very complex. I don't know how to explain it.
I'm going to tell you the best way I can explain it in a comical and serious way. I call it MAGA herpes. As you know, with this disease, you never get rid of it. You find it, you know, and you get it from interaction, physical, whatever you call it. And I think there's a lot of people in America that have MAGA herpes. They can't get rid of it, no matter.
The MAGAs are drinking the Kool-Aid. They're getting sick.
Yeah.
And they're drinking it anyway.
It's the MAGA herpes. They're never.
That's exactly what you're explaining.
And unfortunately, with MAGA herpes, you can give it to other people, right? And sometimes you meet people and you don't know they have MAGA herpes. Like you'll have a conversation with them and they might seem normal. And then they might say something that's racist.
Yeah,
and then they might say something that's bigoted in nature. Or you might see a MAGA hat and then you realize that sometimes it's a little bit too late they have MAGA herpes. So the key is to find out who has the MAGA herpes before you interact with them. That would be my best advice.
No, and I get that. And I'm going to say one more thing. I spent almost 33 years in law enforcement, 26 of it in Phoenix. I did, well, I'm just going to tell you it wasn't fun. But I'm glad I'm done. I'm glad I have my retirement. But I cannot believe what our government, city, county, state, and federal has come to.
I agree.
I'm ashamed.
I agree.
I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to be an American.
If the people only knew.
And I have to tell you, I will not be celebrating the 4th.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be celebrating it because of people like you. You're a hero. Thank you for your service to this country, and I'm honored that you listen to the show and you call back anytime, my dear. I appreciate you. Thank you. By the way, MAGA herpes can also be described as Trump fellatio syndrome, also known as TFS. I started that on the Pierce Morgan show, and I'm going to continue to use it. If anybody wants to say that I have Trump derangement syndrome, I'm going to tell you that you have TFS, Trump fellatio syndrome, and chances are you probably have the MAGA herpes. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next up on PTL. Hey, Vivian, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
I just want to let you know I have a new name for the Republicans up on the Hill. I call them racist, which stands for Republicans always cave in since Trump.
That's a good
pretty
one.
All they do.
That's a good one. I might have to use that. That's good.
Well, I just can't stand it, and I'm listening to the news, and I'm waiting because I know that's what they're going to do. And they have no compassion, no empathy, no nothing, that they're going to destroy.
Sociopaths.
Well, and they want to, have the 4th of July and celebrate. Right.
You say, well, I'm not racist. I just don't like certain people.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's not racist.
Yeah, exactly. That's when they go back into their mobile home and then call their dentist to fix their tooth. Thank you for the call, Vivian. I appreciate you. There's somebody on social media that said, of course, Brian's going to celebrate a white holiday. That's a very ignorant statement. Okay. Listen, it doesn't matter whether they're talking about Independence Day or Memorial Day. There are certain holidays that I will always respect. And it has.
How's that a white holiday?
Yeah, I don't understand that statement at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
it's about freedom and liberation and independence. It's about separating from a regime that used tyranny and oppression and religion to oppress people. And we're celebrating the fact that we got away from them and we were able to, make it on our own.
Let's go to Bruce. Bruce is next on PTL. Hello, Bruce.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
There's one thing first. There's actually three things. But first of all, religion. A lot of people are using religion as a free pass. As, doesn't matter what I do here now.
Right.
I'll go to heaven. And the whole idea about purgatory is, even if you've done bad stuff, they've invented purgatory where you can work off your sins and then go to heaven.
Right.
And the other thing is Doge. The most dangerous thing, and I'm sorry to talk about this again, the most dangerous thing that I don't hear people talking enough about is that it's an economy that is on the verge of a depression. And they're taking all this money out of the economy. And they're leaving it without services it needs, which are probably going to be no big contracts.
Right, but you understand where the economy is most likely headed. Leonard does, I do, and most of our listeners do. But we had a MAGA moron who called into this show who was bragging about job growth. And I said, do you know what the report said today? And of course he was stuttering and he didn't know. And I gave him the facts that this was the worst report we've seen in 2 years. And the next thing he does is swear at me. These are the kinds of people that we are dealing with. They're ill-informed. They're uneducated. They can't spell the word fact. They're idiots. They're idiots.
Yeah.
You can't reason with an idiot.
Yeah. And the thing is, people don't understand. Okay, so yeah, the stock market is up, but the dollar is down more than the stock market's up.
Yeah.
So the only reason the stock market is up is because you need more dollars to buy it. Mm-hmm. It's not worth more. The dollar's worth less.
Right.
Well, and they're they're fickle. They change every day based on projections and what Trump says and what they think is going to work out. But in the long run, I don't see it. Trump is saying he has deals with multiple countries. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. By the way, Paul Lance, who you did the show with. Paul
Good
just made a very funny comment in the YouTube super chat. He said, "Let's call them MAGA herpes, named after caller Herb." It's very funny, Paul. By the way, the number to call in if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Who are we going to next year? Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. Hey, David, what's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm David. I'm from Kentucky.
How you doing, David? How y'all doing down there, around there?
Well, let me tell you what. All people down here, we love Trump, and we love MAGA, and we are.
So tell me why.
Red, white, and blue.
Okay.
Through and through.
So, David, tell me why.
All right.
And don't speak in generalities. David, what do you like about Donald Trump? Give me a policy.
I like Donald Trump. He's keeping our fossil fuels.
Okay, so what's the policy? Fossil fuel isn't a policy. What is the policy that you are referring to?
Well, for number one, he's getting rid of the EV mandate.
Getting rid of the EV mandate is not a policy. Can you please name me one policy under Donald Trump that you like?
That is a policy.
No,
sir.
it's not. EV is not a policy. Can you
It's
please?
executive order.
Okay. First of all, it's not a policy. You don't even know what you're talking about. If you say you like Donald Trump through and through, when you can't name me one policy, it's very difficult to have a conversation with you. If you ask me,
Well, you know what? He's the only president that let us into his cabinet meeting, sir. So what do you think about that?
I was
That's
never.
not a meeting. What
are you talking about? That's not a
That's
cabinet
a kiss
meeting.
fest.
That wasn't a cabinet meeting. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so it wasn't, and the Earth is not flat. So
Not in a real sense.
So let me ask
it
you a
wasn't.
question, sir. Let's go to the family route here. Do you have kids?
No, sir. I'm not. I
I'm
don't
shocked.
have kids, and I'm not married.
All right, well, I'm shocked that there aren't tons of
I
women
could have
out.
guessed that.
I'm shocked that there's not tons of women out there because you sound like a hot commodity. But anyway, David, do you have any nieces?
Well, you look great.
Thank you. I appreciate that, David. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is I better get a MAGA turd that has an IQ of 20 thinking that I'm attractive. You're the first person I think of, idiot. So do you have any
That
nieces
has to
or
be
nephews?
red.
Do you have any nieces or nephews? Do you have any kids in your family at all? None or any?
Oh, yes, I do. I have
Okay.
12 nieces and nephews.
Okay, great. So let's talk about that.
13 cousins.
Okay, I don't need the specifics about all the nieces and nephews that live in your mobile home neighborhood, but let's go with this for a moment. So if Donald Trump, when your niece was, say, 14 or 15 years old, went into her locker room when she was getting naked and he bragged about it in a sexual manner, would you be okay with that, sir?
What I wouldn't be okay with.
No, I didn't.
would not.
You would not. Okay, thank you for your honesty. So Donald Trump admitted to doing that on the Howard Stern show, his beauty pageant. So what would you say to that, sir? Since you support him through and through, are you okay with that behavior?
Joe Biden.
No, the question wasn't.
here we go.
The question.
Whataboutism.
See, sir, that's called whataboutism. Now I'll answer your Joe Biden stuff, but you're going to answer my stuff first, or the phone call's over. I'll answer your Joe Biden question, no problem, sir. But you're going to answer mine first.
I said I wasn't okay with that.
Okay, so why did you vote for him then?
I didn't say I voted for him. I said I was MAGA, but I didn't say I voted.
So you're saying you're MAGA, but you're saying you didn't vote for
Why
Donald
wouldn't
Trump.
you-
Is
why
that what
wouldn't
you're
you
saying?
vote?
No, because why would I vote when I know Donald Trump's the Antichrist and Kamala Harris is through another country, some other type of agenda? man. They're both the
Kamala
same,
Harris
dude.
is through another country? What are you talking about? What does that mean?
Antichrist?
She's run through another country.
How did she run through another country? Please explain that.
Another country is running the Democrats, America, Donald Trump.
Give me a policy
behind
that
the Republican
give me a
Party.
give me
It's two parties
Okay,
against each
sir,
other, sir.
Sir,
And you don't know
sir,
the deep.
Sir, you're not being specific with me and you're speaking in generalities, which I will not accept. Tell me some specific things about Kamala Harris that you don't like policy-wise. Give me some examples. Otherwise, it's very
And
difficult.
she locked people up for
She locked
1
people
gram
up.
of marijuana.
Okay, first of all, name me one person that she locked up for 1 gram of marijuana. You literally have no
I'm
idea.
going to name you a civilian.
Because you have no idea what you're talking about. She never locked up one person for 1 gram of marijuana. In fact, she locked up about 23 people on marijuana charges, and they were far more than 1 gram of marijuana. You are uneducated and ill-informed, and you have no
Still
idea what you're talking.
marijuana.
You have no idea what you're talking about. So you failed on that
Still
one.
marijuana.
You failed on that one. So now,
failed.
okay. Oh, how did I fail? How did I fail?
Because it's marijuana. It's a misdemeanors.
No,
the amount they had
there
was
is not-
illegal at the time.
Sir, there is not one person that was sent to prison on 1 gram of marijuana. You literally have no idea.
there was.
No, there wasn't. Listen, I'm
And
not going to.
Trump was pardoning them all. So was Biden.
Trump pardoned them all. He didn't pardon anybody that Kamala Harris
But
put in
Biden
jail.
pardoned a bunch of people on marijuana charges.
Name me one
Look
person.
it up,
Name me
idiot.
one person. Name me one person. I know you can't name one person, but you just throw out
Name
your
me one person that she did lock up.
She locked up about 23 people. You could look that up if you want. And not one person was locked up for only 1 gram of marijuana. So again, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Tell me
You
why
claim-
Kamala Harris.
By the way, it's Kamala.
Has
You
no
don't.
neck.
Hey, Kamala.
Has no.
Tell me.
Has no freaking
Okay, so
vocal cords.
you're calling into this show, and your criticism of Kamala Harris, and the only criticisms that you've come up with is she allegedly locked up somebody for 1 gram of marijuana, which is not true, and something about her vocal cords.
That was her job at the time.
Let me be very clear, sir. You are a complete idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about.
You're
Yes,
an idiot.
sir. No. You've proved that you're an idiot. You can call me an idiot, but you've called into this show without any facts to back up any of your ridiculous opinions. You say you're MAGA through and through. Then you claim you didn't vote for Donald Trump.
Because he's Antichrist.
Right. You called Donald Trump the Antichrist, but yet you say you're MAGA through and through. So that means you're Antichrist through and through, then doesn't it, sir? Is that what it means?
You know
are
that,
you,
right?
Are
You
you
know the
anti?
founders of America,
Hey, jackass. You're the guy who called into this show that said that you are MAGA through and through. You called Donald Trump the Antichrist. So does that mean, sir, that you're Antichrist through and through? Answer the question. Answer the question. Stop talking over me and answer my question. I'm going to ask it one more time or the conversation is over. You inbred MAGA fool you. You said that Donald Trump, you said it yourself, is the Antichrist. So does that mean that you are through and through supporting the Antichrist? Yes or no? Answer the question. Why won't you answer the question? Why won't you answer the question?
Brian, I locked up many people for marijuana back in the day. Those same people I couldn't lock up today. What is the relevance of it? Back then it was illegal.
You idiot.
Even for a gram. I locked up plenty of people for marijuana.
There's another guy who just called up to the program with the MAGA herpes.
What he's saying makes no sense.
He just said the F word. As I mentioned again, you're not allowed to swear on this show, but that's what these MAGA inbreds do.
Why do they get so mad?
Well, here's what I think this guy's going to do. He's going to go back into his mobile home and have relations with his cousin and fix the one tooth that he has. Have a nice day, sir. You obviously are not anywhere near smart enough to have a conversation at any level about policy. You literally have no idea what you're talking about, and you are Donald Trump's base. Have a nice day and have fun at your Klan meeting tonight. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Monty. Monty is next up on PTL. Hello, Monty.
I don't know how you don't have a flask in your desk to deal with these guys' ignorance, but good for you for calling them out. I have 2 questions here about the Democratic Party, which I support. But I think we're missing a big part here. And one of the things that Republicans like to do is always talk about their faith. When someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about she's a Christian and how Democrats are evil, no one says, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you cheated on every person you had. You voted for policies that are taking food away from the poor, that are taking food away from children. I want to see Democrats. I'm so sick of, I don't want to challenge someone's faith. No, you have to challenge someone's faith because Republicans will talk God, country, guns. Even some of them are praying to Donald Trump. We miss out on an opportunity to call out the hypocrisy on a daily basis and attack them. How do we bring people from middle America who are uneducated and watch Fox News every day? What do they love? They preach God. When you talk about someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Pete Hegseth, who said, I cheated on my wife, but the kid we have is God's child. Like, they don't follow any commandments. They rob these people blind. And I think we miss out on a huge opportunity to call up the hypocrisy and be on the aggressive when you talk about them.
Monty, they're just hypocrites. They have no idea. They've never connected what the Bible says about helping the poor, feeding the hungry, humility, kindness. So these are people who ignore that half of the Bible and cherry pick different items that seem to fit their agenda. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a good person. That's just my opinion.
Three-toe, as I would like to call her. Let's go to Richard.
Fake blonde, butch body.
Yeah, according to Jasmine Crockett. Let's go to Richard. Richard is next on PTL. What's up, Richard?
Oh, I'm a Canadian.
I listen to your show all the time.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering how Donald Trump figured he's going to solve his problem of trade with people like China and all that, they're putting tariffs on. When it's people like Donald Trump himself and all the billionaires that moved all your companies out of your country.
That's true.
Well, July 9th is going to be an interesting date because that's the deadline. And he said he's considering extending it, but then he said, no, there's no way I'll extend it. So none of us know what he's going to do. And he's saying that he made a deal with China. He has not made a deal with China. They're working on a deal right now with Vietnam, which I think is going to work out. But that's Vietnam. That's not China.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
and I think it's bad policy.
Another thing, he's always saying we are so bad for the American people, the Canadians. Did you know that we give you 4.5 million barrels of oil a day at about $8 discount on the world market?
Just so you know, we love the Canadians. On this show here, we love Canadians. We feel like you're our partners, you're our friends. We're people that we can relate to. They don't like Donald Trump. They're tired of doing business with him. And we don't expect you to become the 51st state. That's ridiculous.
Agree. Thank you, by the way, for calling for Canada. I look at a stat on my YouTube page, and like over 20% of people that are on my YouTube page actually are from Canada. So I really appreciate that. 702-221.
It's hard for them to find a friend in America.
Yeah.
You know?
702-221-7283. Let's go to Beverly. Beverly's next up on PTL. Hey, Bev.
Oh, is this me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Okay, I don't go by Beverly unless I'm getting in trouble.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
Just Bev. Hi, Leonard. Hi, Brian.
Hi, just Bev.
And Leonard, I love your giggle when Brian goes at some of the MAGAs. I think that's hilarious. I wanted to mention something that no one has mentioned except you at the beginning, which is Koberger. With the plea deal, obviously his team wanted the plea deal or offered the plea deal. And I'm wondering if the prosecution said, okay, but in order to get that, you got to tell us where the knife is and why you did this. Mm-hmm. Because I have a theory about why he did it. Because he was studying criminal law at the time. And I'm wondering if he did this as research to see if he could get away with murder. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think obviously a severely demented and deranged individual, but I do think him studying criminal law certainly had something to do with it. I think at some point in his life, whether he studied criminal law or not, he probably would have done something like this. But I do agree that we needed more details for the families of the victims, and we didn't get that. But the families of these victims are the ones that I really feel for right now. And these four young individuals who had their entire life ahead of them, it's just a horrible tragedy.
Bev, can I ask you a quick question? Do you think there's a reason why the police still to this day have not released the entire investigation to the families? Why is that? Why would they not release the entire investigation?
I'm still confused as to why they wanted to demolish the house 2 days later.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I knew something was not right because they actually had to get a court order, an injunction to stop them. The equipment was there. They were starting on the house. Why is that? No police department would demolish a house a couple of days after a brutal murder of 4 people. That's ridiculous. You couldn't collect that amount of evidence in 2 days.
Yeah, and by the way, I also think the death penalty should have been left on the table. If he gives the plea deal, I think the families should at least get the why and where's the murder weapon.
I agree. I appreciate your call, and
Thanks, Ben.
I'm with you 150%. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hey, Ray, what's going on?
Good morning, afternoon out your way, Brian and Leonard. I got 2 items. These megas that you get are just like in my neighborhood. They will not answer a question. I don't think they have any answers. You and Leonard do an excellent job of putting the way I feel out there. So thank you very much.
Well, thank
and
you.
as far as workers, I'm a retired union plumber and pipe fitter. I worked outside in the ditches most of my life. We would get extras from Manpower, places like that. They come out at 8 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, they say, "Sign my card. It's too hot." They go mess up the porta-johns and leave.
Well, you know what? There is an attack on unions right now, and it's starting to make a comeback. But I was union also. I was actually a union president for several years, representing police sergeants and police lieutenants. So I know you worked hard your whole life, and we appreciate the call.
Absolutely. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's see, who should we go next here? Let's go to Jane. Jane is next on PTL. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm calling because I'm also from Kentucky, and I would just like to say that moron does not represent my state. That was extremely ridiculous.
Yeah, we get some
Okay.
of those.
We like Kentucky. Beautiful
I know
state.
we do. And the big thing is the coal mines. Well, I grew up in southeastern Kentucky around the coal mines, coal mining towns. My father was a coal miner. The reason that the coal mining industry is gone is because it's gone. They've worked it out. The only way they can go in now is if they put aside all the restrictions and people start getting killed. It is ridiculous. That's why they've quit working those coal mines. They're not safe.
There isn't much
So,
that
remove the
runs on coal
restrictions.
anyway.
Pardon me.
There isn't a big use for coal anyway in the modern age.
No, there isn't. There absolutely is not. And Andy Bashir, thank God for Andy Bashir, he has tried to bring in new innovation and new jobs into our state so that people can get educated and not have to go inside the coal mines and risk their life. I apologize for Mitch McConnell. I've never voted for him. I did vote for Rand Paul the first time he ran because he was more Tea Party, and what he said and what he's done is two totally different things.
Yeah, well, Rand Paul.
I am a Democrat.
To me, Rand Paul is an absolute disgrace. Once in a while, he
He
gets it
is.
right, but
He
you know,
is.
this is the guy who voted against 9/11 funding for health care
Yes.
for 9/11
Right.
first responders. This is the guy who
He
showed up to
ran
work.
on.
This is the guy who
He
showed
ran
up.
on small government.
This is the guy who showed up to work and worked out knowing that he was positive for COVID. He is a selfish son of a bitch, and Rand Paul can go to
I
hell
agree.
as far as I'm concerned. He's a despicable human being.
He's giving Trump a rough
I
ride on
agree,
this bill, though.
absolutely. There are 35 hospitals in my state that are going to close if this big, beautiful bill goes through.
Yeah.
35.
Saying that
I
this
live
bill,
30 minutes
saying
from
that
Lexington, I'm okay.
Saying that this bill is beautiful, big and beautiful is like saying Donald Trump's body is big and beautiful. Yeah, that's how big and beautiful it is. It's like saying Donald
Elon
Trump.
Musk doesn't like it. What did he call it? The porky pig bill?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Donald Trump, a porky pig. 702-221-7283. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you. Dargo is next up on PTL. Hello, Dargo.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
What an
Yeah, I
interesting
just want to see your guys' opinions on Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Whose side would you take?
In regards to which topic?
In regards to the big, beautiful bill.
Well, of course I would take Elon Musk.
Me too.
I think this is not a big and beautiful bill. It's the big boner bill, as I would like to call it. Over 10 million Americans are going to lose their health care coverage. Surely, sir, you wouldn't be okay with that, right?
Well, I do agree with the people that are on Medicaid and don't work. They have to at least work 80 hours a month.
What would you say about the people that are working? 30% of those people aren't offered benefits, and over half of those people can't afford it. What would you say to them?
And this bill is not.
Sir, did you hear the question?
Oh, no.
Would you like me to repeat it?
I did.
Okay.
What was your buddy saying?
Okay, no, forget about my buddy for a moment.
Sorry,
You didn't answer the question. Answer the question, please, sir. What would you say?
I don't know. How do you know they don't?
How do I know they don't? Because it's what the companies report. It's according to the government. It's according to everything that's out there.
Where's this document from, sir?
You want me to go onto my laptop and put the document out there right now?
I want
Go
the
to
source. Yeah.
You want the source? Okay, listen, idiot. You want me to give you a source? I'm not going to source
hold on,
every
sir.
single.
Idiot.
No. Yeah, I'm calling you an idiot because you're saying, well, you're not. You don't give me the source, so I don't know whether it's true
I'm
or
an
not.
idiot when you're not providing the factual
Okay,
source
you want
for
the source?
information?
You want the source? Go ahead and talk to Leonard, and I'll look up the source for this Nimrod. Go ahead, Leonard.
Well, what I was going to ask him is, he sounds like a Republican, but would you agree to raising the debt ceiling by $5 trillion?
$5 trillion, the debt ceiling, that doesn't affect you and me.
How does that?
Where
do you think they're going to get the money from?
Those numbers are garbage. Those numbers are nothing.
No, the agency that does the calculations for the federal government, the CBO, made that calculation. Now they came in. I will concede that they came in at about 3.4 trillion, but most accountants that I've talked to, or economists, say it's probably closer to 5 trillion, but they're adding to the debt ceiling before they even balance the budget. Where do you think they're going to get that money from? They're going to get it from raising taxes. They're going to get it from the American public, from taking Medicaid away, from taking food out of the mouths of children. And what about USAID? What about USAID? They said over the next 10 years, there's probably 133 million people that will die from USAID existing anymore.
I just want to give this
Don't
guy.
you care about that?
I just want to give this guy a few sources. Hold on, it's time for you to be quiet now. The Laborers Organization Union, DC.gov, the Home Laborers International Union, the SEIU, the Laborers International Union of North America, Metropolitan Washington Council. You can screenshot it and shove it up your ass, sir. Those are 4 or 5 different. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. You're the same idiot who votes for Donald Trump. So don't you say ooh when I say shove it up your ass. When you voted for the guy who attacks Gold Star families, he attacks people of color. This is the same guy who attacks women on looks. This is the same guy who says I don't respect them because they were captured. So don't you give me an ooh like you're so offended because I said shove it up your ass. No, I'm not going to screenshot it for you, okay? Go into your little TikTok live with 5 people and you could ask people to screenshot stuff for you. I just gave you the facts. You don't want to actually respond to the facts. The fact that 30% of Americans right now are not even offered health care when they're employed, and almost half of them, 49% of them, can't afford it. So why don't you respond to my question now that I gave you your sources, okay, buddy? Why don't you respond to it now? Respond. Go. Respond.
About what?
About what? You want me to repeat it now for the 5th time?
About all the sources? Okay, let me.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm not.
Let me check.
I'm not
all
asking
the
you.
sources.
Pod this idiot down. I'm not asking you to respond to the sources, you ignorant nitwit MAGA moron. I'm asking you to respond to the stats that I put out that you questioned when you asked me for sources, you idiot. I'm going to repeat it one more time, okay, MAGA crap for brains? One more time, you inbred MAGA fool. You trailer trash fool you. 30% of people that are working are not offered health care. I'm speaking slowly, so maybe somebody with you with an IQ of 20 might be able to understand. If people are offered health care, almost half of them can't afford it. Are you okay? And I'm speaking very slowly and distinctly, so you might be able to understand. Are you okay with many of those people losing their Medicaid under this big and beautiful bill? Yes or no? Answer the question, idiot.
I said yes, idiot.
Okay, then have a nice day. You're not worth a conversation.
He's okay with people losing their medical coverage?
Then you're a complete imbecile with no moral compass, and we just proved that on the air. You're not worthy of a conversation because you're a horrible human being, okay? Look up the source on that. It's called People That Have an IQ Over 20, a la people that are not you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Warren. Very special people calling in today. Warren, what's going on?
I wish some of them would have some facts, though.
Yeah, hey, Brian, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, nothing much. I guess Darlene got some work to do if she ever gets on, because you have some winning MAGAs today. I'll tell you.
I think they got destroyed pretty well. I think Brian did a good job. If they would come with some facts, we could have a conversation if they had something factual, but they don't.
Well, you know, all MAGAs, they got pizza brains, so they're not even on that level and so forth, you know. But as far as that guy in Idaho, you know why he didn't get the death penalty or so, because the state of Idaho is not really that strict on the death penalty. Now, if he did that same crime here in Texas, you know, in Abbott land, oh yeah, he would have got the death penalty in a heartbeat.
You're right. You're right. You're right. State by state, it's very different, and that's a point well taken. I just disagree with the way the prosecution has handled this without even reaching out to the victims' families. To me, is disgusting.
Yeah, and most definitely. One last thing: if you're real high on the death penalty, you know, like I am, I want to say this: if I hear any person that died under this bill you know, with Donald Trump and so forth, I think that orange shirt needs to get the death penalty. I don't care if he's the commander-in-chief or whatever. He needs the death penalty. It's already been people that died under his watch.
Yeah, point well
under
taken.
the bill and so forth and all that. Oh, yeah.
Point well
Yeah.
taken, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you 150%, and I appreciate the call.
Thanks,
Let's go to
Warren.
Travis. Travis is next on PTL. Hey, Travis, what's going on?
Hi, sir. How you doing?
Good.
I want to be transparent. I'm a Republican. I don't consider myself MAGA. I would prefer not to have Donald Trump as president, but his majority of his policies versus the Democrats are how I personally feel.
So give me an example. Can you give me an example of that?
The border. I mean, the border is a big.
Okay,
thing
well,
for
well,
me.
the border is not really a policy. Can you like specifically?
Well, policy. Okay, I'm sorry. The law, enforcing the law. How about that?
So what about
If you wanna-
okay, let's talk about that. Fair enough. And I'm not saying Joe Biden did a great job on the border, but are you okay with people being separated from their families, sent to El Salvador prisons without due process? Is that because that's part of it? His immigration policy. Are you okay with that?
Hey, you know what? And this is just me. And you know what, Brian? And here's the thing. I'm a Republican. You know, I love speaking to Democrats because I respect anybody's opinion. I don't like calling people names, and that's fine if you do. That's your choice.
Did you vote for Donald Trump? Did you vote for Donald Trump?
I did.
Then why would you vote for a guy that calls everybody names that he disagrees with? Then if you don't like calling people names.
I agree more with his policies.
Okay, so you don't mind if
again,
somebody is an adjudicated rapist or a 34 count felon that calls people names because you might like a few of his policies? Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yeah, I didn't vote for the man. I voted for.
You didn't vote for the man.
Know,
So what is your threshold? If somebody rapes children, you would still vote for them if you liked some of their policies? I'm just wondering where your bar is. That's all I'm asking.
You're going. No, no, I wouldn't. You're going down a dark path.
No, I'm not going down a dark path. I'm going down a factual path. He's a 34 count felon and an adjudicated rapist. This is a dark path.
And
I
you
agree with
voted for him.
You voted for him, so now you have to own it. I want to know where your bar is. I want to know where your bar is. Can somebody just go into teenage locker rooms that are 15 and 16-year-old girls? They can be a rapist and they could be a 34 count felon, but if you like a few of their policies, you're okay with that. That's what you're saying, right, sir?
So let's talk about going into girls' locker rooms.
Sure.
So your policy to let a trans man or whatever, if they feel like being
What
a
is
man
it? So
day,
you're comparing a trans
that's
man.
your
Hold on a
policy?
second. What you're
That's your policy.
what's the policy?
Yeah,
What's the
your
policy of a
policy.
trans man? Tell me what's that policy?
What is a man? Can you define a man? What
Okay,
is a
so
man?
you
Do
want
know?
you want me to define a
Well, what's a
man?
man? Tell
Hold
me
on.
what a woman
Hold
is.
on.
What's
I
a
will.
woman?
I will in a moment. But you asked me to define what a man is in replacement of you voting for a guy who openly bragged about going into girls' locker rooms, watching a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old girls changing, which makes you an idiot. And if you don't like me calling you an idiot, okay, it's too bad. But I'll answer your question. Shut up. Shut up and I'll answer your question.
I know you.
Shut up and I'll answer your question, dumbass. I believe that you're a man when you're born a man. I believe you're a woman when you're born a woman. But guess what? I wouldn't vote for somebody who went into the opposite sex's locker rooms bragging sexually about looking at a bunch of 14 and 15-year-old girls naked, as the guy who you voted for did on the Donald Trump did on the Howard Stern show.
And he bragged about grabbing lady parts. He
Right.
bragged about
Right.
forcibly kissing women when they didn't want to be kissed.
But you like
I
a
mean,
couple
this
of
is
his
what you
policies,
voted for.
right, sir? You like a couple of his policies, though, right, sir? So that makes it okay.
You're not winning over people to your party the way you're acting.
Not my party. I'm not even. Hey,
nobody's
dumbass.
trying to.
Hey, what party am I in, dummy? What party am I in? What party am I in?
You're in your. You know what? You're probably in your own party.
Yeah, no, I'm an independent. You're right about that. You assume because I don't vote for an adjudicated rapist felon that I must be a Democrat. No, unlike you, I'm an intelligent person with a moral compass. I don't like voting for rapists. I don't like voting for people that are felons, sir. So no, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered independent that didn't vote for Obama or Hillary, and you don't know how to form an opinion or an argument. So you just go with, oh, you must be a Democrat. Sir, I really hope you have a nice 4th of July, and I hope nobody goes into any of your daughter's locker rooms. But if they do, I'll make sure to somebody that would vote for them and then say, I like a few of his policies. Sir, do you realize how ridiculous you sound? Really?
I don't. And you know what?
You don't. Have a nice day. Have a great 4th of July, you dumbass.
He says, I don't.
Anyway, we're running out of time. Thank you, Kathy, on the YouTube Super Chat, who says,
no more rapid fire.
MAGA, riddle me this. Why are Republicans silent on the money being allocated to the already bloated defense spending, $500 billion for a Golden Dome? Kathy, that is a very good point that you make, and I appreciate you. Unfortunately, Leonard, I'm sorry. These MAGA Republicans took my voice out. I can't help it anymore.
Well, I think I think it's important because, like some of the callers said, they need that. They need that sense of sanity.
They do. But Leonard, always good to have you here.
Yeah,
my
it was
friend.
fun.
Always appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Gloria's still on CNN.
Yeah, Gloria Allred.
She's still on.
Gloria Allred on CNN right now. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Tomorrow, the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, will be joining us. Larry Flint's wife, Liz Flint, will be joining us. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout.